What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, UConn has been on a tear since their upset loss against Notre Dame, and everybody is getting the smoke, including Iowa State last night, who got demolished. The final score of that game was UConn 101, Iowa State 68. And guys, Iowa State, yes, they are unranked, but I would consider them a good team. And for the large part, their focus last night defensively was to stop two players, Paige Bueckers and Sarah Strong. But ultimately, that didn't work out well because out of nowhere, Ashlynn Shade, the 5'10 sophomore, came in like a wrecking ball. Somebody called Miley Cyrus. She came in like a wrecking ball and put on a crazy scoring performance. She hit her first three-pointer in the first quarter, and it was like from there on, she saw a constant green light because she drained shot after shot after shot after shot, and she could not miss. And partially, her scoring prowess was because of Iowa State's defense. They were overhelping in the paint, and they were overhelping around Paige Bueckers, and they ended up coming out late to defend Ashlynn on some of those shots. And she was like, okay, all right, y'all gonna focus on everybody else? I know I haven't done anything like this before, but I'm about to drain a whole bunch of threes on your head. And that is exactly what she did. She went 6 of 6 in the first quarter alone from the three-point line. 20 points in that first quarter. 6 of 6. Crazy numbers. Ultimately, she would cool off because you can't stay that hot for the entire game. So she'd eventually cool off, ultimately finishing the game with 27 points. So Ashlynn got everybody working for UConn. She got it going for UConn. And from there on out, it was the expected stars of Paige Bueckers and Sarah Strong that kind of took it from there, also going wild from a three. Paige was knocking down 3 after 3 and was getting to the rack. She ultimately finished the game with shooting 10 of 15 from the field, finishing the game with 27 points. And the big woman down low, the freshman, Sarah Strong, was, as her name says, very strong in the paint, but also continues to be a 3-point challenge for the defense. And to me, that is what is very impressive about Sarah Strong's game. Now, Sarah Strong is a power forward, right, for UConn, but in reality, she is pretty undersized. She's only 6'2", so when it comes to the WNBA, maybe they got to get worked out. I don't know if she really is a power forward in the WNBA, but because of her ultimately being undersized in that post role, I love the fact that she is not a player who lives down in the paint. She doesn't. Sarah Strong is not going to live in the paint. Sarah Strong is going to step out. She's going to comfortably handle the ball, and she is going to catch and shoot from the three. Ultimately, Sarah Strong was knocking them down, finishing the game with a career-high 29 points. And yes, Sarah Strong is a freshman. She also won the Basketball Hall of Fame Women's Showcase MVP. Remember, the game was not at UConn. It was in Connecticut. It was at the Mohegan Sun, where the Connecticut Sun play, because of the showcase. So yeah, there's a lot of UConn fans in the stands, and they saw an absolute show. So we got 3 players for UConn that dropped a combined 83 points in yesterday's game, going 7 of 26 from the three-point line. Guys, these are unheard of stats. According to ESPN, this marked the first time in 25 seasons that UConn had 3 players with at least 25 points in the same game. Now, this season, no other trio has done a similar feat. Now, you guys, you talk about the game changing, right? We see a lot of three-pointers nowadays. And we ended up seeing 3 more three-pointers come from UConn, not from those 3 main folks. And just like that, UConn ended up having a program record 20 three-pointers in this game. And there was nothing that Iowa State could do about it, right? They go to zone, doesn't matter, UConn scores. They go to Man to man, doesn't matter. UConn scores. And instead of UConn being a two-man show, which largely this season it has been, right? It has largely been all about Paige, Bueckers, and Sarah Strong. We saw a three-man show yesterday. Ashlynn Shade, Sarah Strong, and Paige Bueckers. Like, guys, that's fantastic. And you all know, what you get with a three-legged stool, right? Like this is a three-legged stool for UConn. You know what you get when you get that, right? You get balance, you get stability. And if this game is not a fluke for Ashlynn Shade, which, we'll see ultimately if it is or not. But if this game is not a fluke, and if this is more to come, UConn, man. UConn is looking more and more and more dangerous than they did last week against Notre Dame. So, Ashlynn Shade, fantastic start. That was fantastic. Now, how you going to keep it up? Fun fact to know, she is, a sophomore. So, hey, and she's a starter. So, we'll see ultimately what happens from here, especially as AZ Fudd returns back to the team from injury. Now, for Iowa State, there only was one real option yesterday, and her name was Audie Crooks. She did end up doing well, in my opinion, and it's so fun to really see Audie Crooks play. I think she is someone who, just about every time she touches the ball, she, was getting swarmed by multiple defenders yesterday. And she would either go into her patented one-leg fadeaway shot. That's a nice shot. It's pretty lethal. She would, try to just body her man, get closer to the rim and score, or get the foul. Or she would pass it out. One thing I like about Audie is that overall, she does a really good job with the basketball, not turning it over and doing something positive for her team. Now, the struggle was when she did pass the ball out, her teammates couldn't make the shot. and that was the big issue for Iowa State. Audie ended up finishing the game with a team-high 22 points, and the shooters around her just could not bring any balance to their offense. It really was pass the ball to Audie Crooks, and if she can't score, sure, she passes it out, but what's the point if y'all can't hit the shot? It was really good defense by UConn. Very, very good defense. But if Iowa State makes those three-point shots, makes those long mid-range shots, it's a different game because they would have forced UConn to play Audie differently. But they didn't have to. All they had to worry about yesterday really was Audie Crooks, and she was swarmed. And so, yeah, she scored. And when she passed it out, her team just couldn't do it. Addie Brown and Emily Ryan are fantastic players. But offensively, they needed to show up and score. And yesterday, they didn't really do that, And, that was a huge reason for Iowa State struggling. You did have, junior Sydney Harris who came off the bench, and shout out to her, y'all. I thought she was the second best player for Iowa State yesterday. She ultimately drained 5 threes, and she finished the game with 17 points. But that's not enough. That is not enough. Now, what does this mean for Iowa State going forward? Well, for me, this is simple. They're a sophomore-heavy team that is going through, in my opinion, normal sophomore slumps. Right? Where last year they surprised everybody. There was no real expectations for Iowa State. They surprised everybody and put on a great show. And you know what happens when you put on a great show? Expectations. And now this season we have expectations for Iowa State. And with all that pressure and with the big games that they're playing, they are floundering, really, against some of the better teams in the NCAA. And it's not like they're just losing. They're getting demolished. And they still haven't figured out what to do when you get punched in the face early and how to punch back against some of the best teams in the country. Now, that work will take time, right? Because this is a team that lacks significant upperclassmen. This is a freshman and sophomore heavy team. That's what this team is all about. And it's something they just got to work through. What happens when you get punched in the face? What do you do? How do you get your offense together when your guards are not hitting the shots they normally would hit? What do you do? How do you adjust? And that's something that that their head coach Ben Finley is going to be working on, right? He is a great coach, and I think they're going to work through it, but it's going to take some time. And so, yes, Iowa State probably will not be ranked again for the rest of the season, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. They're going to work through this, maybe not have a great, time in the NCAA tournament. They will make the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. They won't have the easiest of roads, but I think they make the tournament. And ultimately, their junior season for Audie, Emily, right? I think that's really going to be their moment, because they would have learned for more time and gotten better. See, the thing that you all have to remember about some of these freshmen who are just absolutely dominating, and some sophomores who are dominating, in large parts, they're on teams that have upperclassmen. They're on teams that have sort of like that veteran presence that can help them work through a whole bunch of stuff. Iowa State doesn't have that. Yeah, sure, they got a lot of young talent, but they don't have the experience that, say, a Sarah Strong is getting from UConn. They don't have that. And so, it's going to take them a little bit of time, but, I think they'll ultimately be fine. And I think these games are very good for them, because you have to work out how to punch back. You have to. What do you do? What do you do when the team swallows up Audie Crooks? What do you do? And they're going to figure that out. But anyway, that's the video, guys. Ultimately, UConn win the game 101-68. I thought it was a fun game. Yes, blowout. But when threes are flowing the way threes are flowing, it does make a blowout a little bit more fun to watch, because it's like, because everybody loves a 3-point basket. Like 3-point baskets are the new dunks of sorts, where someone does it and you're like, whoa, that's awesome, especially for women's basketball, because we don't really see dunks like that. But anyway, that's the video. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. Ashlynn Shade does her thing, yeah, UConn gets the dub. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.